tusherehekee pamoja ushindi kwa ukombozi wetu. Tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote, tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika. Chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us make Africa the tree of life. And this is Humanist TV Africa. And of course, I'm your host, Kato, here on Humanist TV Africa. And of course, we want to encourage you to join us by subscribing to our channel. Our channel is Humanist TV Africa. If you go into Google, because you're going to find us, you're going to see so many videos, so many shows we have made that are actually very important, very empowering, very educative, very informative, very innovative, and of course, some of them are entertaining shows. We are Humanist TV Africa. We'd like you to reach to us by writing to us an email. Our email is info@humanisttvafrica.com. Our email is info@humanisttvafrica.com. And our WhatsApp number is right there. Our communication officer, Brian Kabeko, based in Nairobi, Kenya, will be able to respond to you and give you feedback. We are looking for volunteers. We are looking for volunteers all over the world. Our intention is to open up studios all over the world and be able to champion the cause of secular thinking, the cause of critical thinking, human rights, and of course, good governance. And we share with network good practices. We want to connect Africa to the world through the world of media. That's why I want to encourage you to join us. We want to open up studios in your country, right there you are. As I speak today, we have studios in Uganda, we have studios in Kenya, we have a studio in Nairobi, in Ghana and Nigeria, we have studios in Zimbabwe and Zambia, Sierra Leone, we have a studio in the UK, and of course we have a studio in the US, and we are growing. This is Humanist TV Africa, and the program today is Kato and the Gang, where we look at matters of politics, economy, culture, religion, and all. Today, we are focusing on Kenya and Uganda. Remember, under this kind of show, we holistically look at issues, economics, religion, culture, social issues affecting people. This is the program where we talk about everything and anything. And we dig deeper. Issues that others fear talk about, here we talk about them. Today, I'm happy to be able to lead the discussion on Uganda. And of course, My colleague, Brian Kabeko, is going to be leading the discussion on Kenya. We shall be talking about Kenya and Uganda in comparison with other African countries and, of course, the rest of the world. We simply want you people to understand where we come from, to have a picture of our countries, and, of course, to look for solutions for things that are not going on very well. Let me invite, of course, my producer, who is this time also a panelist and a co-host, Brian Kabeko in Kenya, to say hi, and then we continue with this kind of program.
Hi, greetings all. My name is Brian Kabeko. I am
Speak a bit
attending
louder,
this show
Brian. We
live.
don't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, my name is Brian Kabeko. I'm attending live from Kilifi, Kenya. I'm part of Humanist TV Africa. I am a producer and sometimes I'm also a panelist, as you've seen me appearing here today. So I'm happy to be with you, and hopefully we are going to share a lot during this show.
Thank you, Brian. Brian is a producer, is an IT professional expert, and of course, Brian is also a panelist. And what's so important, Brian is our communication officer, or call him our spokesperson. I didn't mention, but I have to mention, if you're watching us for the first time, Humanist TV Africa is a registered charity. We are a registered non-government organization. So whatever we do is under the law. We are here legally, and of course, Brian is able to represent our views to a larger spectrum. Now, if you want to talk with us, Brian is the guy we're going to be talking to us through us. I mean, he's going to be communicating to you, and then we shall be able to link with the rest of the world. Now, today, Brian is going to be here to share about Kenya. Talk about Kenya, then we analyze Kenya. Talk about Uganda, we analyze Uganda. Remember, in the past 2 days, we've been talking about Sierra Leone and Nigeria. And I do believe that those of you who attended those shows, those of you who watched these shows, you can testify that they were great shows. If you missed our shows on Nigeria and Sierra Leone, please simply go back into our channel. This is Man TV Africa. Whatever we discuss is live, but also is archived. Our shows for the last 1 year are right there. You simply subscribe, and trust me, you are going to be able to see these shows. Now, if you missed Ghana, if you missed Nigeria yesterday, if you missed Sierra Leone yesterday, please go back into the archives and watch it. Now, today I'm going to be talking about Uganda. Very, very briefly. Uganda is a very beautiful country. I was saying it's the best country in the world. You are free to say Kenya is the best, but I should tell you, I've been to Kenya and I haven't been to Uganda. So trust me, Uganda is the best country in the world. I repeat it for everyone to understand that my country is the best country in the world. Why do I say so? Of course, beautiful people, happy people. We are the most happy people I know, that we find them smiling despite the challenges they have. We are so receptive, so welcoming in Uganda. I should tell you before I even go far, Uganda is the country, if not in the world, I'm sure, in Africa, but you can check it, probably in the world, the highest number of refugees. We have 1.5 million refugees in Uganda. What does this show you? We welcome people. You can Google it. Uganda is #1 country in welcoming refugees. We have 1.5 million refugees in Uganda. Where do they come from? Majority of them come from Sudan. In fact, 60% of our refugees come from Sudan. Then the Congo, Burundi, Somalia, and other countries in trouble. One thing about Uganda is that we welcome people. In Uganda, when you're a refugee, you get allowed to work easily. Number two, you get allowed to move around the country much easily. So adaptability in Uganda is quite high. Why am I saying this? I'm trying to show you the friendliness of Uganda as a country, that even our refugee policies are a bit relaxed. It's a welcoming country. That's number one. Number two, Uganda is the country of a very rich culture. The diversity of Ugandans, you're going to be seeing some of the maps I'll be calling in a few minutes. We're going to be seeing the cultures we have, the traditions we have, the dances we have. It's a country with diversity, the tribes, over 60 plus tribes in the country, but all welcoming and all doing their best to develop their country. We have 45 million people. Brad, I know Kenya is a bit more than that, about 60. We are 45 million people in Uganda, a bit smaller than actually Kenya, and far smaller than Tanzania. But we fit it within our country. We have so much free land in Uganda, I should tell you. If you want to invest, Uganda has so much free land. Apart from that, of course, Uganda has a very youthful population. Most of you are your age, Brian, because look, 76% of Ugandans are below 35 years. I should repeat this. 76% of Ugandans are below 35 years. Now, these are youthful people in Uganda. Now, this is good in one or another because it gives you a labor force that can develop a country. But sadly, Uganda has one of the highest unemployment rate among the young people. Now, we are 45 million people, but about 70% are youth, and among them, when you go to calculate with the population, 27 million people in Uganda are below 35 years. Now, that's quite interesting. If you have 45 million people and 27 of them are below 35 years, which means they are young, the worst part of it is that among the 27 people who are young, 19 million of them are not having a viable job to do. Now, I'm giving a check quickly that unemployment in Uganda among young people is terrible. They are going to tell you in statistics that, look, Uganda actually has the better employment rate because of agriculture. If you look at World Bank, they're going to say 4.2% of GDP. They're going to give you employment and unemployment in those kind of sectors. I say no to their kind of methodology. I always look at population and numbers. Now, they're going to tell you Uganda has agriculture as a backbone, and sometimes I say it's the oxygen of the country. Therefore, people who don't have jobs can easily be absorbed into agriculture, into farming, and all that. Yes, that is also possible, but I'm giving you the real challenge we have now: youth unemployment, and especially graduate unemployment, because graduates are hit faster and harder than the uneducated ones. Graduates normally say, I'm a lawyer, I'm an engineer, I'm an IT expert, I'm a teacher. Why should I go and become a vendor of food? Why should I go and become a farmer? So you find that graduate unemployment is high among the educated. Why? Because they despise other jobs. It's true. Uganda has opportunities. All of us, not all of us, some of us have land where we come from, and our land is free. My land is there. I have land which is there and not even being utilized sometimes, which means if someone wanted to work and utilize my land, they can do something out of it. But people despise jobs, especially young people. I should say that. They normally say, oh, we want white collar jobs. You want IT, you want things to do with, your sector. Now this is the challenge I should tell you about Uganda. Number two, the other challenge, of course, about Uganda is the issue of corruption. And we're going to be playing some videos about Uganda. You hear a minister lamenting. In fact, a person in charge of the IGG office lamenting about corruption, and the president actually whitewashing the whole thing, making it look as if there's no problem with it. Now, these are challenges in Uganda: the issue of corruption, the mismanagement of our funds, and all that. Now, these are issues that affect us. Again, the other issue which I want to point out very fast about Uganda is the issue of the national debt, which is rising. Do you know that our national debt is 46% of our GDP? 46% of our GDP is our national debt. In simple terms, our national debt is 22 billion US dollars. Now, who is demanding us money? World Bank, IMF, Chinese, and other countries. Now, paying this money becomes a problem because we have a burden. As I speak right now, our national airport is being taken by the Chinese because they're demanding money from us. Now, national debt, I've told you, 46% of the GDP, which is about 22 billion US dollars in debt. And corruption is going outside the roof. Now, these are challenges of Uganda. The issue of governance, the issue of bad regime back home in Uganda, the issue of fighting people who are trying to oppose the regime. Our regime has been there for the last 28 years. Brian, you can do your calculations according to your age. Our president has ruled us for 28 years. The guy came to power in 1986. Now you can see I'm aged, I'm spent. The man has been the one who's actually in charge. And I should tell you, Uganda got independence in 1962, and our first president, Sir Edward Mutesa, who was actually king of Buganda, took over in 1963. And in between, we have had 9 presidents. But all those 9 presidents, apart from the incumbent, have been going in very bad shape. Apart from one who resigned, having been in power for only 10 days. That was Mwanga. The rest, they are either deposed, it is either a coup, there's either war. So that's the kind of situation when it comes to leadership that sometimes we have got it wrong because we get the wrong people in the offices. We have had wars, we had rebellions, we have had insurgencies, which is not actually Kenya by comparison. So in terms of people asserting themselves, changing of leadership, there has been a problem in Uganda. But again, on a positive note, Uganda has so many beautiful sites for visiting. Tourism is one of the highest sector in Uganda. Tourism brings in too much money, so much money, more than actually agriculture these days. It's very surprising. So one of the sectors that is working so well in Uganda is accommodation, is tourism. And of course, our IT sector is also growing. There are many young people in Uganda doing IT, creating their own apps. It's also another sector which is also promising to be doing very well. The industries are coming up, the factories are coming up, but not at the pace you would like to see them. Now, that is a summary of Uganda. I'm going to invite the producer to give us the maps I've prepared for Uganda so I can finish my part. Then you can come in. Brian, after having given you that kind of background, give us a bit of maps. I want to show people the flag of Uganda, how it looks like, why those colors. I want to show people the population of Uganda in terms of the map. I want to show people the minerals of Uganda. Uganda is a very rich country, by the way. It's the country with mountain range only, the country with the source of the Nile, right in Uganda. It's the country where we have the equator, which is also passing through our country. It's also a country with Lake Victoria, one of those longest lakes in the world. So it has so many first and wonders that actually can make you love Uganda. Now, Nandip, most welcome into this show. We are looking at Uganda. You found me almost completing my part, and Ban is going to show us. Ban, if you can, show us those maps. I want to conclude my part on Uganda. Then you bring in your part on Kenya, and then our analysts will give us a feedback on what we have presented. Today, I'm showcasing Uganda, telling you a brief about Uganda, how the country is a special country in a way, despite the challenges. I've told you that we have 45 million Ugandans. We are very welcoming. We are the only country I know in the world that has the largest number of refugees, 1,500,000 people. 1.5 million people, refugees are in Uganda, but we welcome them. In Uganda, a refugee can move freely. In Uganda, a refugee can easily get a job. In Uganda, a refugee can actually easily get a piece of land. I don't know any other country that does that. You can research it. A refugee comes after 1 year, after 2 years, they are having land in Uganda. They are in schools. They are part of us. Uganda doesn't discriminate. And I wish people would learn a bit from Uganda. So having said that, I'm still waiting for Brian to give us the maps about Uganda. He's also going to play two very short videos about Uganda, which are more of a checker. And then we shall usher in our discussants to give us their insight about Uganda. And then we shall look at the challenges. I've told you the number one challenge in Uganda is corruption. For example, that our corruption is so high that even the president is surprised that these guys have stolen. Sometimes the president is got off guard and say, I didn't even expect this. At the time where we have reached in Uganda, the president has accepted that they cannot fight corruption to the extent that now he accepts that it's there and he says, I'd rather have these corrupt guys who are stealing money but are not investing from outside Uganda. This is the map of Uganda. That is my country. Uganda, of course, has a very beautiful map right there. The black, the orange, and the red. And of course, the crane, the crested crane, one of those beautiful birds there. I love my country. I would say I love my country despite the challenges right there. Now, this is the vegetation of Uganda. We a green country. I love my country because we are green through. You can see we are a green country in Uganda. Everything you plant, trust me, comes back. We have Lake Victoria, one of those longest lakes in the world. And of course, we are bordering DRC Congo, we are bordering Kenya, we are bordering Sudan, and of course, we are bordering Rwanda and other countries. Now, this is Uganda. Here, we are giving you the main districts of Uganda, which are now over 100. There have been so many divisions in Uganda in terms of districts. These are the map shows you the districts of Uganda has their spread up north, in the south, in the east, and in the central. That is Uganda. Brian, very, very fast, we showcase about Uganda today in this show. Now, these are the main towns in Uganda: Mbale, Tororo, Jinja, Mubende, Entebbe, Masindi, Soroti, Lila, Moroto, Kitugum, Atiak, Guru, Arua, Fort Poto, Mbarara, Masaka, Kabale, and of course the capital state, which is Kampala. This is a summary of Uganda. You can see our neighbors, DRC Congo, and others. Beautiful map of Uganda right there, which is a source of pride. Uganda is called the Pearl of Africa. It was the British man called Winston Churchill said Uganda is the Pearl of Africa. Look at the minerals we have in Uganda. These are the minerals we have in Uganda. We have gold, we have silver, we have diamonds, we have copper, we have limestone, we have clay, we have granite, we have salt, we have tungsten, and many other minerals. Gold is quite important in Uganda. And we have, of course, we have oil. I didn't tell you, we have oil in Uganda. And of course, these are areas where you find more of a tourism. The areas of tourism, those are the areas where you find much of tourism. Now, I'm still showing you the rocks we have. We have special rocks that actually are used to manufacture so many things. We have granite, quandazite, dorite, sandstone, amphibole, and granite greenesses, and all these others. Very tough names that right there. These are we have so many rocks that are so good for development in different sectors. These are ethnic groups in Uganda. The main ethnic groups in Uganda, the Akoli up north, the Rugubala, the Kalamajongs in the far east, the Itesots, the Langi, the Banyolo. Of course, we have the Baganda, who are the majority, and the Batolo, the Banyankoli. These are the main ethnic tribes. There are other tribes that are smaller, but these are much bigger in Uganda. Brian, much more, very fast. Of course, here, I tell you that in Uganda, in terms of ethnicity, we have the Bantu. The Bantu in the green shade are the largest. I come from the Bantu personally. And of course, Nalip told me the Muntu comes from the Bantu. We are the Bantu. I'm a Bantu. My origin is the Bantu people. But for us, we are Bantu of Uganda, they are Bantu of West Africa, they are Bantu of East Africa, and they are Bantu elsewhere in the world. Now, we are Bantu. The Bantu are the majority right there. And of course, we have other ethnicities in Uganda. Now, this is more of cities, call them townships, that are coming up in Uganda. There are quite many all over. The map here summarizes those are townships in Uganda. Quite many. We have over 60 of them coming up right there. Now, this is Uganda in brief. I've been able to give you a summary of Uganda just in brief. Now, Brian, I've done my part of analysis of Uganda. I'm going to invite you to take over from where I've stopped.
Okay, thank you once again, Comrade Kato. I've really been incited with whatever it is you've presented on Uganda, and I must say something that as somebody who lives closer to Uganda, Ugandans are good neighbors, they are good people. Actually, Kenyans really like Ugandans because we find them very polite, they're very courteous, and they're very transparent. So I'm really proud to have Uganda as a neighboring country. And to just tell you, where I stay in Busia, it's only less than 5 kilometers to Uganda. So whenever I'm in Busia, we go into Uganda, do some 1, 2, and then we come back. Now, there are so many things that you said about Uganda that I really can't relate with as a Kenyan, because both Kenya and Uganda are third world countries, and one thing about these countries is that they have so many similarities, and there is something that you'll find in Uganda that it is also in Kenya. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to highlight the social aspects of Kenya. I'm going to look at the specifically the social and economic aspects of Kenya, because that's where I find it very interesting that people should know about Kenya, because people just hear Kenya outside there, but they don't actually know what Kenya is or how it is like to be a Kenyan. So I'm just going to share some presentation here. Now, this here is Kenya's flag. Our flag has 4 colors. The black color represents the color of the African people because we are black. The red color represents the blood that we shed during the struggle for independence. And the green color represents our vegetation. The spear that you are seeing there, it's our national shield. It represents our culture. Now, what do you know about Kenya? Kenya is located in East Africa. Our country has a size of 581 kilometers per square meter, slightly bigger than Uganda, but also slightly smaller than Tanzania. Kenya was colonized by the British people, and we got our independence in the year 1963. Since independence, we've had 5 presidents. The first president being President Jomo Kenyatta, who died in 1978, and then Daniel Arap Moi took over from him. And then in 2001, we got Mwai Kibaki. From Kibaki, we saw the Uhuru and Ruto regime. And then from Uhuru, we now have President William Ruto. So President William Ruto is our 5th president. And the kind of political system here in Kenya is that Kenya operates on a multi-party democracy system, meaning that we have so many political parties that are active here in Kenya. Unlike during the Moi era, we only had a one-party democracy system. So that was done away with. Kenya's capital city is Nairobi. Nairobi is a very beautiful city. It is also the biggest city, I believe, in East and also Central Africa. Nairobi is a host to so many organizations. We have offices of the UN there. We have offices of EACC and so many other things. So this is just Nairobi in an aerial view, how beautiful Nairobi is. We also have other cities in Nairobi. We have Mombasa, we have Kisumu, we have and now we also have a new city here in Kenya. It is Nakuru. Nakuru is the latest town to be promoted into a city. So what's the population of Kenya? Kenya, just like every other third world country, our population characteristics are not much more different. They are more similar, because one thing you'll realize about the third world countries is that these countries have a very youthful population, and so Kenya is not an exemption. Kenya is highly populated. Those aged between 0 to 14 make 37% of our population. Those aged 15 to 64 make 60% of our population, and those who are above 65 years old are very few, only making 3%. So there is something that you'll realize as you look at this population pyramid of Kenya. As you go high, the number of people reduces. This is to show you that at the base, because the base is much more wider, majority of us Kenyans are young. So Kenya is a youthful population, just like Uganda. Now, according to the 2019 census, which is the last census that was conducted here in Kenya, it was enumerated that Kenya has a population of about 47,564,296 people. That was our population by then in 2019. But as we speak today, the population has grown rapidly. We are now at a staggering 55 million people, and I know by the time we are having the next census in 2029, the population is also going to be more than that. The highest tribe in population here in Kenya is the Kikuyu. Kikuyu are so many here in Kenya. During the last census, they were ranked the highest tribe. And as we speak today, Kenya is ranked 28th globally on dependency by population, meaning that we are so many. We are amongst the countries that are densely populated. Now, there's a question that many people will now ask themselves. Is Kenya rich or is Kenya poor? Kenya is a lower middle income country. We just got promoted to this position, this status recently, because we are one of the rapidly growing economies in Africa with an annual growth rate of 5.9%. We also have a GDP of about 95 US billion dollars. And 16.1% of Kenyans live below the poverty line. So you can ask yourself, if 16% of your population lives below the poverty line, there's no way you can identify yourself as a rich country. Now, just like Uganda, Kenya is being faced with the unemployment issue. We are no different from Uganda. In fact, I would want to believe that Kenya is even worse than majority of many countries, because you look at the unemployment rates levels of the graduates, and then you wonder if your country is a youthly populated country and those youths don't have jobs. The only translation that you can get is that that country has an employment issue, meaning that majority of the people in that country have no jobs. And you know, for a country, that is very, very dangerous, because there are so many things that comes with unemployment. Now, let us look at these statistics here. Currently, as we speak, the youth unemployment is standing at 35%. You can imagine 35%. And this is about 4.5 million young men and women, while the annual unemployment rate is at 10%. Now, when you look at the graduate unemployment level, it's at 32.4%, and you know that's very worrying. So you can just ask yourself, if a graduate is if the unemployment level of graduates is this high, then it makes you question who are the people who have been employed, who are the people in this employment industry. And you can only arrive to one thing, that the corruption levels in Kenya is very high. Corruption, in fact, is the main issue as to why many of the youth outside there are unemployed. Not only the youth are unemployed, even the middle-aged people. We have middle-aged people who are unemployed. Now, when corruption is just part of the problems that are causing this unemployment. But another thing is to also mention is that the government is also not doing enough to create employment opportunities, because the taxes are so high. So you realize that even that person who wants to become self-employed finds it very difficult for them to start a business, because when you do your math, you realize that the amount of taxes that you're going to pay for you to start up a business is almost equivalent to the capital that you need to start up that business. So you ask yourself, what are you going to do? Now, As much as we are saying that unemployment is an issue here in Kenya, agricultural sector actually employs more than 50% of the total population in Kenya. Agriculture gives opportunities to employment because we have so many people who are being employed in farms. We have so many people who are being employed in these manufacturing, agricultural processing industries. So, and that has it's really helping because not everyone can go into that these other office jobs that people want. So agriculture is playing a very big role in creating unemployment. Now you can see on this map here that I'm sharing, it's showing you a projection of uh, the rates of employment in the near future here in Kenya. And in as much as there are those projections, we really don't want to buy into that because the people who are there, who are supposed to make these things happen, they are not committed into making that thing happen. So it remains just like a dream. So every year is the same problem, the same problem. Now, the average annual gross income of Kenya per capita it grew by 11.6%. That's from 2021. We are now at 1,979 US dollars. That's quite an improvement. And this is the reason as to why we are now being identified as a lower middle income country. But initially, we were not a lower middle income country. We were just a now. This is the poverty rates in Kenya as it has been ranked as per county, and you will notice one thing that counties at the northeastern part of Kenya, they are so poor. Eastern and the northeastern parts of Kenya, they are so poor, and that's because these areas are semi-arid and arid. There is nothing that can grow there. Agriculture cannot perform there, and you've just seen that agriculture provides over 50% of employment opportunities to the Kenyan population. So, if your county cannot practice agriculture, it means you have to create other means of employment, other employment opportunities for your population. And how are you going to do that? The counties are sparsely populated. There is nothing that can thrive there apart from livestock. The literacy level there is very low. So that's a very big challenge that the northeastern part of Kenya are facing. This is also a map. It is from 2021. It's showing the poverty rates. You'll realize that the central region and the western region, these regions are they're slightly performing better because agriculture is thriving in those particular areas. So the population there can benefit from those agricultural industries, the farms that have been set up there, and so on and so on. Now, Kenya being a lower middle income country, how is Kenya safe? How would you describe Kenya to somebody who has not been to Kenya? You know, these are now I'm standing between a line of being patriotic and being a humanist. So I love to put things as bare as they are. Now, if you look at this map, at this chart here, you'll see that there is something very weird that is happening. The crime rate levels in Kenya are so high, and it has been ranked by counties. The crime rate is so high, with the coastal region leading with crime rate, and the coastal region is leading because of terrorism, not the normal crime of maybe people breaking into shops. No. The coastal region is leading because of terrorism and drugs. Now, these other regions, we are now experiencing these normal crimes: rape, homicide, we have burglary, and other related crime. So our safety index is at 6.8, and the global average index is at 4.98. So we are slightly above the global average index, although that doesn't mean that we are doing fine. Kenya is not that safe. Now, in terms of criminality, as I've said, we have a high average of 7.02, and we have a lower resilience average of 5.33. So this one should also tell you something about our streets. They are no longer safe. I've also been a victim of crime here in Kenya. So believe me when I tell you about our security. Now, let's look at how are we ranking in Africa. We are ranked 4th and we are ranked 16th globally. So in Africa, we are ranked 4th for being the most criminal prone country. And that is not good news. We are even very much more dangerous than our neighbors Uganda, Tanzania, and all other East African regions. Our security is not good at all. Now, before we closed the year in 2023, we had a total number of over 100,000 cases that were being reported crime. So that is not a good news. And the leading crime in Kenya here is theft, which is at 35%. It's followed by criminal damage, this burglary and so on, which is at 31%. And then we have drugs. Is also an issue here in Kenya. It's at 25%. Now, let's talk about Kenya's healthcare. Do you think that Kenya is doing well in terms of healthcare? Because today, as I was doing my research, I came across a certain statistic about Kenya's healthcare, and it really made me pity our African neighbors. Now, healthcare here in Kenya has had a lot of challenges, majorly because of one, these hospitals are not funded. We have shortage of doctors and nurses. In short, we have shortage of medical personnel here in Kenya. Not that they are not there. These people have already qualified. Remember, we have a very high rates of unemployment amongst the graduates. So these doctors and nurses graduated, but the government is not willing to employ them into this field. So at the expense of who? At the expense of us citizens. So our hospitals don't have enough doctors. They don't have enough resources to buy equipments that are needed. Those people who are leading the Ministry of Health, they're also not competent enough to come up with policies that can improve our healthcare system here in Kenya. You look at our national health insurance fund, just thieves who are there. Money is being eaten, people are contributing money, but the National Health Insurance Fund does not have money. So that's one big problem that Kenya's healthcare is facing. But despite all those challenges, Kenya still ranks 2nd in Africa in terms of good healthcare system. Now, I ask myself, if Kenya is ranking 2nd in terms of good healthcare system, how are these other countries like? Because I cannot imagine what I see here in Kenya as good. Our health system is very pathetic. So if we are ranking 2nd, I just pity my other African neighbors, because I can imagine the situation that is in your country, and we really need to do a lot, because if something bad is ranking best, then it means these other things are worse. The biggest health problem that majority of Kenyans here face is malaria. And talking about our healthcare system being terrible and so on, we only spend 4.2% of our GDP on healthcare. In fact, majority of the government's expenditure goes on recurrent expenditure. So it begs another question: where is the government's priority? Who is the priority in this government? If a crucial ministry like health cannot be prioritized, then how are we going to develop our country? Now, talking about Kenya being ranked 2nd best in terms of healthcare, we look at the life expectancy in Kenya. If you're living in Kenya, at what age should you expect yourself, or what's the average age that people die when they attain? Initially, Kenya was at 70%, but due to one or two reasons, the life expectancy rate in Kenya dropped down. So you can imagine, if it was at 70%, we are now dropping down. So you just ask yourself, where are we going? Our life expectancy is at 62, 67%, 67 years. So you can just do the math, calculate how old you are and how far are you from 67 years. That's the number the number of years that you should expect to live if all goes well. Now, our fertility rate here in Kenya is at 3.29 births per woman, meaning averagely every woman with 3 children. Our death rate is at 0.6 per every 1,000 people, which is 8%, also worrying. While our mortality rate, the mortality rate for men is actually higher than those of women, because out of every 1,000 adult men, 419 die, while only 310 out of every 1,000 adult female die. So you can see, every day Kenya experiences at least 5,700 births every day, and at the same time, every day about 1,400 people die. So you can see that's how we are performing. Now, another question: housing in Kenya. There's been a lot of debate outside there with our president campaigning for something that we call affordable housing. Now, what is the current status of housing here in Kenya? How many people can afford housing in Kenya? And how many cannot afford housing in Kenya? So this is a question that has been on a debate ever since President William Ruto was appointed into power. There's been a call for government to build affordable housing for us, and a lot of debate has been happening with the opposition and the government and so many other stakeholders. But as things stand today, only 70% of households here in Kenya experience severe housing affordability challenges. This 70% of urban households cannot comfortably raise their rents in the houses that they are staying. And this means one thing, that people are struggling here in Kenya. And when you look at the home ownership rate here in Kenya, it's only at 21.3%, and it's in urban areas. So it means that housing is a very big challenge here in Kenya. It's very tough. Not majority of Kenyans can afford housing, leave alone owning a home, just renting a house. It's a very, 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 very big challenge here in Kenya. Now, look at this. This is Nairobi. This is Kibera slums. These are the kind of houses that people are living in Kibera slums. Those people, those majority of those 70% who cannot comfortably afford housing, they live in such houses. So this should tell you something about the housing status here in Kenya. And it really needs immediate attention, because I believe that every citizen has a right to proper housing, proper sanitation, and other human things. So, but you can see here, look at how the environment there is. Sewages are passing through the houses. We have dump sites just behind the houses. Some houses have been built on dump sites. And this is Nairobi, Kenya, Kibera slums. According to our constitution, and Article 43, it says that every person has a right to accessible and adequate housing and to reasonable standards of sanitation. So this has been the point of argument revolving around this affordable housing issue here in Kenya. And we are waiting to see. Just recently, the court quashed that housing levy. The government had imposed a housing levy on every employed Kenyan, but the court rendered that unconstitutional, and it was quashed. So we are waiting to see. The president has vowed not to follow the court rules. He said he's going ahead with providing citizens with affordable housing as he had planned. So we are waiting to see, and we'll see how things goes. Now, matters social issues aside, let us look at the economics of Kenya. What are the major contributors to Kenya's economy in the GDP? Kenya has so many economic sectors. We have farming, we have the tourism industry, we have the energy and mining, and so on. But majorly, we are an agricultural country, so our contributor is the agriculture sector. That's the biggest sector of our economy. And let's start with the tourism. At least 8% of employment in Kenya here is provided by the tourism industry. So this is how important tourism is to Kenya. If tourism can offer up to 8%, at least 8% of the population here in Kenya employment. It means that tourism is doing pretty well. And as of November last year, we had over 1.5 million tourists who had arrived in Kenya for the December holiday. So it tells you that Kenya is a major tourist destination for so many uh, foreign countries here in the world. And amongst those visitors who came to Kenya on holiday, 36% usually come to see their friends and family who live here in Kenya, while 27.8% are those who are coming here on business. And then we have the 27.2%. These are people who are coming for just to see the destinations that are here in Kenya. These are some of the things that attract tourists here in Kenya: wildlife, our culture. We have the beautiful hotels, beautiful sceneries. These are some of the things that attract tourists into Kenya. Kenya has so many things that can attract tourists. So it always depends on the preference, because I've seen tourists who come here to Kenya specifically to see historic sites. I've seen people who come here to see our wildlife. I've seen people who come here, they want to experience our hotels. I've seen people who come here because they want to experience our culture. I've seen people who come here because they want to uh, do research on our economy, and so on and so on. Now, when you look at tea farming, tea is also a major export here in Kenya. Tea farming is grown in the Rift Valley region, majorly in Kericho. And as you can see in these images here, those are the tea plantations in Kenya, and Kericho to be specific. So tea is a major contributor to our economy. The annual tea production here in Kenya is usually at 1,000 metric tons per year. And this has been that way since 2015 up to last year, 2023. I don't know how tea will perform this year, but I hope we are going to have an increase in production. Now in Kenya, we have over 70 registered companies that are serving over 600,000 tea farmers. You can imagine 600,000 tea farmers. How many people do you think have been employed in that industry, in that sector? So many. So tea is an important part of our country's economy. Our export, our tea exports contribute up to 33% of Kenya's GDP, which is 106 US billion dollars. Imagine 33% of our GDP is contributed by tea farming. So tea is a very important cash crop here in Kenya. Worldwide, we rank third in the production of tea, just behind China and India, which ranks the first. As of last year, our tea sales generated about 115 US million dollars. And for every kg, our farmers get paid about 25 Kenyan shillings. I don't know how much that is in US dollars, but that's the standard price here in Kenya. And our main tea export goes to Pakistan. Pakistan are our biggest tea market. And then we have Egypt, and then we have the United Arab Emirates, and then lastly we have Russia. Now, we also do coffee farming, although coffee is not as in large scale as we do tea farming. Coffee is majorly grown in the central parts of Kenya, and that's why you'll hear our deputy president, who comes from that region. Every time he makes a public speech, he'll be talking about, you know what, I'm going to take care of coffee farming, because he knows coffee employs his people. Coffee is the cash crop in his region. So Kenya also grows coffee. You can see in those images, those are coffee harvests. They're being prepared. Now, annually, we produce at least 1 million bags every year. And between 2022 to 2023, we have sold coffee that is worth 127.8 million US dollars. So that's a good trade. And averagely, every hectare here in Kenya produces 601.6 kilograms. I think the average production is at 700 kilograms, so we are not that badly off. And according to the statistics that we were given, they are projecting that it's going to the coffee revenue is going to grow. So we hope that after this year, when they do that assessment, it will have grown, because I know when tea is doing better, the farmers are also getting money into their pockets. And if the farmers are having money in their pockets, it means that they have that ability to also employ other Kenyans in their farms. But if they're not getting any profits from this coffee farming, it means they're not going to employ people into those farms. So that's how important coffee farming is in Kenya. Now, let's look at maize. Maize is the staple food of Kenya. Uh, why? Because majority of Kenyans eat ugali, and I believe we are the largest consumers of maize globally. There is no country here in the world that surpasses Kenya in the consumption of maize. Not even Tanzania. We are the largest consumers of maize. Now let's look at maize. Maize is cultivated in over 2.196 million hectares of land here in Kenya, with more than 3 million farmers. So you can imagine what percentage of Kenyan land, fertile land, is covered by maize. Now, the annual production of maize here in Kenya is 3.897 tons, with production of at least 36.7 million bags annually. We produce 36.7 million bags annually. That's the highest any country can ever produce maize. And maize being our staple food, as I told you, um, our consumption every month, Kenya consumes about 3.1 million bags of maize. And you know, the global average is around 3.7. If three, not 3.7, it's 3.5 million. So we even surpassed the global average. And annually, we are consuming around 50 million of bags per year. You tell me. Maize is our staple food. And we export up to 3.827 metric tons outside. I don't know to which countries we do export maize to, but all I know, maize is our staple food. We love maize. We eat roasted maize. We cook ugali using maize. We make porridge using maize flour. So many things. We also make oil from maize. So maize is a very important cash crop here in Kenya. Now, with all this, do you think Kenya is food secure? You've seen how we are producing so many bags of maize in millions, not even thousands or hundreds of thousands. We are producing in millions. So, do you think that is sufficient enough to make Kenya food secure? So, let's find out. Now, this is the food security situation here in Kenya. Between last year September and July, we had about 2.8 million people in arid and semi-arid areas who were classified to be on food crisis. Remember when we began, I told you that the northeastern part of Kenya is faced with drought. That's why even the population there is very poor. The development there is very poor. The poverty levels there is very high. So you can see 2.8 million people in those counties were on food crisis. In fact, I remember last year the government declared hunger a national calamity. So the same year, 2023, we ranked 90th on the Global Hunger Index. This is to mean that our hunger case is very serious. And you can imagine, we produce millions and millions of maize bags every year. So the current rate of food insecurity is also at 28%, according to Food and Agriculture Organization. So Kenya is not food secure. About 10 million of Kenyans chronically lack food, with 2 million children estimated to be stranded. This is obvious, because if these people are unemployed, it means they cannot even afford that food. So that is common sense that any unemployed population will have challenges in buying food. Now, we also have about 6.4 million food crop farmers here in Kenya, but still it's not sufficient enough to meet the food demand in Kenya. Why am I saying that? We are so many, and very few people can afford their daily meals. Let us go on into mineral mining in Kenya. We have so many minerals here in Kenya, but majorly You can see the one that is looking like cocaine there. No, we don't. Cocaine is not a mineral. It just looks like cocaine. So that is soda ash. And then we have limestone. We have fluorspar. We have salt, and we have fossil fuels. These are our major minerals here in Kenya. And of course, we do have other minerals. Not I just mentioned those because those are the major minerals. We do have other minerals. You can see in this map here, it shows different places, different areas where these minerals can be found in Kenya. Now, this is a graph that is showing you how the mineral industry is contributing to our country's GDP. To tell you something that mineral is an important sector in our economy. Now, these are the major minerals that are found here in Kenya. We have the metallic minerals, which is gold, and these specifically are of high quality. We have gold, copper, tantalum, and il- ilmenite. I even don't know what that is. But these minerals, especially gold, is not found in large quantity. But when you find it, it's of high quality. Now, the non-metallic minerals, we have the soda ash, limestone, salt, niobium, fluorspar, and fossil fuel. Now, GDP from mining average at around 20,733 million from 2009 to 2023. This was the highest ever. So it tells you that our mineral industry is improving year in, year out. And I'm so sure that by the end of 2024, the figures will also have gone high. And as I said, we have so many other minerals, but the major mineral that we are exporting as a country is soda ash, which is mined at Lake Magadi. Now, I told you when I was talking about minerals, we have so many minerals here in Kenya, but we choose to focus on the major minerals. We have about 970 minerals across the country, which is we've also seen there are some youths, because out of unemployment they have decided to improvise their own mining machine, and they end up dying by being buried underground by sand because they are going to find gold. I really don't blame them, because if the government had put good measures, if they realize that there's a mineral at a particular place, they ought to have to go there, talk with the community, and see how they can extract it using more secure means and modern equipment. But now, because the government doesn't give a damn about it, these young people are going there, they improvise their own traditional mining equipment, they go deep underground as far as even 20 meters. Now they get buried there. Now look at this map. This map shows you different types of minerals that you can find in Kenya. We have the coal, we have the gold, we have so many minerals that you can actually find in Kenya. So Kenya is rich in minerals, but are we tapping in on this? Are we doing enough to make profits on this? That is a question for another day. Now, let us go to the energy sector here in Kenya. We have the Kenya Power, the most notorious company here in Kenya. This company enjoys a monopoly of distributing power throughout the whole country, but they can't even deliver on that. But whenever any other company is coming in and says that they want to distribute power, Kenya Power will be the first people to go to court and to stop that. But they can't deliver. We are really suffering under this company. You know, it really gives us a bad impression about government owned company, because this company is the only company here in Kenya that is producing power, and it's still making losses year in, year out. There is no year, no financial year that you'll hear the government announce that Kenya Power and Lighting Limited has made a profit of even 1 shilling. Never. You'll always hear that Kenya Power has made losses of these millions, but they're still injecting their money. So you wonder what kind of business they're doing. But this is our electricity company. This is the company that is responsible for lighting Kenya. They light Kenya all over the country. Now, let's look at how energy is performing here in Kenya. You can see the contribution of energy. Kenya consumes about 180 kilowatts, which is higher than all East African countries. Imagine, we export power from Uganda. We are even consuming more than what Uganda consumes. We are even consuming more than what Tanzania consumes. I believe we even consume more than what Ethiopia consumes. Currently, 76.54% of Kenyans have electricity in their homes. That is good news. And this was an initiative by the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. He made sure that even in the rural areas, even if your home is that of mud that has been touched with grass, you are going to get electricity. And he made sure before he left office, all those houses were powered with electricity. Today, if you walk in Kenya, even if you go inside the rural areas, you will find houses with electricity. Now, two-thirds of our country's energy is coming from bioenergy. 86.98% is of our energy is renewable, and hydropower accounts for only 36% of our Kenya's renewable energy. So it tells you something about how we consume our energy and what type of energy that majority of Kenyans consume. Now, this is what I was talking about. These are the things that you don't want to hear about Kenya. You've seen how good the figures that I've read there are. You've seen how we are generating a lot of hydroelectric power. But there is something that happened that you can't even explain. The government has failed to explain even when these ministers are summoned in parliament. Now, look at this. National blackout. It has now become the norm of the day, not only in our homes, but even in crucial buildings, hospitals, international airports. You can imagine you are taking a flight from Australia, you've just landed here in Kenya, and the airport is totally blackout. You know, that's very dangerous for a country because terrorists can land in. How will you differentiate? Anything can happen there at the airport. How will you tell? Because when there is power blackout, the CCTVs are also out. A whole international airport goes on blackout a whole night, forcing so many people to reschedule their flights, forcing so many people. It caused a lot of confusion. And then the Minister of Transport and Communication, hard-eyed, comes to the TV and tells you nonsense. He has nothing to explain. That's how terrible Kenya Power is. And remember, the company that is transmitting this electricity enjoys a monopoly. There is no competition. So they have no excuse as to why they are failing to deliver. If it's money, Kenyans are paying for their tokens. We pay for electricity tokens. In Kenya, you cannot use electricity without paying. We have prepaid tokens. You pay for electricity before you use it. So there is no way they can tell us that they don't have money to repair their grid lines. They don't have money to repair their equipment. That is out of excuse. Now let's look at the transport sector. You can see there is our beautiful queen. We have Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways, actually, it's the best airline that you can ever use in Africa. It's the best airline. But what's ugly about this beautiful queen is that she is one of the people who is milking our economy dry. Kenya Airways has been making losses for almost 1.5 decades. Ever since I was a young child, there was no day I've heard the government announce that this company has made profits. Every day, Kenya Airways is usually on the brink of sinking, so the government has to inject some billions. Whenever those billions are injected, at the end of it, there is no profits. This one and Kenya Power and Enlightening, they are brothers and sisters because one, they are milking our company, our economy, and our country dry. But I will give it credit because Kenya Airways has marketed Kenya globally. People know Kenya because of Kenya Airways. It has also been voted as one of the best performing airlines in Africa. Now, on the other side, you can see we have some motorists, motorbikes on the Kenyan roads. It shows you the state of Kenyan roads. So this picture here shows you different parts of the country, how our roads look like. I must say that the government has tried in terms of transport. The previous regime of His Excellency, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and Mwai Kibaki, they really tried to make sure that roads are passable, because a country which has poor roads is a country whose economy is bound to fail, because many things pass through the roads. If it's agricultural product, they pass through the roads. If it's people transporting services, it's through the roads mostly, because not all Kenyans can afford using air means. You can see different parts. We have the SGR, we have pictures from different parts of the countries and how the roads look like. We have the expressway, we have the Thika superhighway, you know. But it doesn't mean that all roads in Kenya are good. Look at how some of our roads are very smooth. You just enjoy driving through the streets. Just look at this. This is the Thika superhighway. Was a multi-million project by the former president Mwai Kibaki. Just look at it. It's really beautiful when you look at it. So these are some of the things that are making our economy to run smoothly. Just look at it. This is Kenya. This is not London. This is Kenya. Look at how beautiful our roads is. You just enjoy. And when the road is good, even the vehicles, they last longer because they are being used in a suitable condition. Now, behind every beautiful thing, there is an ugly thing. And this is the ugly part of our roads here in Kenya. We still have some roads that look like this. This is also Kenya. We have roads which have potholes. And these are the things that we usually tell our MPs every now and then, that these are the things that needs to be looked into, because these roads transport agricultural produce. These roads transport people. And when the road is bad like this, accidents are more likely to happen. Goods are more likely to delay to reach the markets. And if they are perishable, it means they have gone bad. And if they go bad, it means the farmer in the farm makes losses. And if that farmer makes losses, he won't be able to pay those people who work in his farm. So these are the things that we need to look at. Now, this is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. It's not just a common airport. This is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the biggest airport in Kenya. But what are you saying? It's leaking. Even me, my house is not leaking. My personal house is not leaking. But this is an international airport leaking. When it rains, when you're in Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, it rains on you. So you can imagine the kind of an embarrassment that this airport is giving Kenyans. Besides being on a blackout, a whole airport is leaking. Do they do renovations? This is an embarrassment to Kenya. So that is all that I was supposed to show you about Kenya. And you will agree with me that Kenya is a beautiful country, despite all the challenges and all the shortcomings that we have. Kenya is a beautiful country. You can visit Kenya. We have so many tourist destinations. We are also friendly. Kenya is a beautiful place, and I am really proud to be born as a Kenyan. Although, as much as I am proud to be born as a Kenyan, I must also call out on the stupid things that our country is doing. So thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for listening at me. That was all about Kenya.
Now, that was awesome. I should say that was awesome. Comrade Nandipu, please get online. Brian, you have all the respect and all the flowers from this presentation today. I think mine was a skeleton. Yours is the real thing. Yours is the real body. It was an education. We must agree. Brian made the best presentation on this panel when it comes to country by country analysis. I think all the panelists have learned from Brian. That was a hell of a presentation. Deep and with a lot of information that I do believe that our viewers have enjoyed this show. It has been educative. I want to say that Brian has said it all, apart from I think one thing which you didn't mention. Of course, you have as someone who is very interested in what you have presented, says very well researched and very informative show. Well done, the panelists. Of course, Brian made the show much better. Dennis here says that Uganda has so many districts. If you are one of these people with a tendency of urinating by the roadside, you could be standing in one district and urinate, your drops actually going to another district. You, Dennis, stop hating Uganda. Be patriotic for once, for 1 minute. Even me, I know I have challenges with Uganda, but somehow I come here and I say, the best country. Why are you degrading our country like this? Anyway, Brian did a good job. Nandip, no, I wanted to make one comment. When you look at the national debt of Kenya is worrying, I should say this. You can research it. Your GDP, your national debt to GDP is 68%. It means that your debt is beyond your sustainability. In fact, when you translate into dollars, your debt is 69 billion US dollars. The other day, I was reading your president, he had just paid 10 billion US dollars to the Chinese. How about Nigeria? Your debt as Nigerians is 103 billion US dollars. Uganda's debt is 43 billion US dollars. But no, don't compare Nigeria to Kenya and Nigeria and Uganda because Uganda is smaller. Our debt is 43% to the GDP. Kenya's debt is 68% to the GDP. Nigeria's debt is 24% to the GDP. So you find that it's much bigger, but again, the economy is bigger now. These are the challenges I'm talking about now. To wind it up, Nandip, we are going to continue this discussion tomorrow because we are 1 hour past. Now, give us a brief analysis of the two countries and then conclude. Tomorrow, we shall come and give solutions to what we have said today. Nandip, you are the one who's going to give us analysis and then you close.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Comrade Kato. And I really need to appreciate Comrade Brian Kabeko. You really did a very good job and you made a very serious research. I've been listening without end. I said, wow. Now, you see, the analysis I want to give now, Comrade Kato, I came, a little bit late. I couldn't get much from you. So I really had enough from Kabeko. So the analysis now shows that we Africans, we are lacking. Lacking in the sense that our GDP is not growing. But according to Brian's submission, at least they are a little bit low, middle, GDP. That means they are growing, of which is a very good thing, which I kind of encourage our own country like Uganda and Nigeria to do the same too. I'm so amazed and surprised I see that Kenya is a very beautiful place, of which I've been, reading and then watching things about Kenya. And for Uganda, I've been hearing about Uganda for a very long time, about this man called the Idi Amin of Uganda. The way they painted him, like he's a terrorist, a black, huge person. But when I research more further, I understand that this man loves Africa, loves his country. Try to do away with those imperialists that come to take what they didn't, sow to their place, of which I respect Idi Amin of Uganda so much. Although he also, used iron fist to kind of to rule, of which is normal to any serious leader, like the way Complicator is drilling us seriously. You have to do what you're supposed to do. You are putting pressure on us, so we have to stand on our feet. That's how a leader is all about. Now, in all essence, in conclusion, we Africans, we have a long way to go. Corruption is the main stake that is pulling us backwards. We have given ourselves to the Europeans, to the Chinese. They are manipulating us, taking all that we have to their place, and they give us little. Look at the numbers of maize that the Kenya cultivate, millions. I wonder, do you, let me ask you, Kabeko, do you kind of brew wine, beer with those maize? Because here in Nigeria, if you produce so much large quantity of maize, you have to brew, beer with it so that a lot of people will enjoy. People like me, please quickly answer this before I conclude.
Brian, there's no.
We do make beer using maize jam, and our local beer is called busa.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes, it's okay. Yes, it's okay. That's good. Our own local beer is called Bukutu. That's nice. Now, we Africans, we have to stay and make sure we fix our country, our continent together. Together we support ourselves. Together we are going to be out of this jam block that we have been put into by those people that usually came to, separate, to kind of take our resources away. Now, in conclusion, I need to thank Comrade Kato and Comrade Kabeko for this wonderful show. And tomorrow we should continue. And you need to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook at Humanist TV Africa. You have to, write to our producer also at info@humanisttvafrica.com. Our WhatsApp number is also there also. You can be able to chat our producer also through our WhatsApp. Thank you, our viewers. Please join us again tomorrow for the continuation of this show, the Kato and the Gang. Thank you, Comrade Kato. Thank you, Nana. Brian.
See you in the next one.